Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sophia Ali and I'm the academic coordinator for KIMS. In this session of my series of videos, I'll be talking about learning specifically with respect to different subjects. As I mentioned in one of the videos earlier, if you're learning history or preparing for your Pakistan studies paper, history has a lot of dates. So although your notes will have them in order, it is a very good and handy technique to have a timeline. I usually tell students to use large poster sheets and use color codes for all the three different nations, because at the end of the day, history in Pakistan means all three nationalities: the Hindus, the Muslims, and the British. So when you're making your timeline, the display in your room, it is a nice idea to have it color coded. This makes all the information ready at hand, and as you walk around your room and move in and out, you can actually glance and revise on the go. And then when you sit down and work, after looking at your notes, it is always a good idea to take out a few past paper questions and practice those. Now, we have a lot of topical papers out there. I usually recommend getting ones without the answer key. I don't want you to look at the answers just yet. Practice first and then ask somebody else to look at the answers for you, or have both versions, the answer key version and the non-answer key version, so that while you're working and before you start studying, you have your notes, your books, and the exam paper. And then after you have done your paper and the question or the relevant questions, you can check it using the answer key or the mark schemes. Now, this is actually helpful in developing a skill. It helps you focus on how much you need to write and how you need to write. At the same time, you need to look at how and what order that things should have been mentioned. Now, the order in which things are mentioned is actually applicable in almost every subject, whether it is accounting or English or Islamiyat, and even in Urdu. Well, later we'll think about that as well. But for the time being, from history and the visual timeline in your room, you can also have a visual map in your room with geography and practice on that. So let's say you are studying industries. So for that session, you can mark all the areas on the map which have any kind of industry, whether it is sugar industry or the cotton industry or the textile industry, whatever. But mark it up. Make it a visual thing. Make it something that is available to you in the form of a map. Because at the end of the day, the first 4 marks for every 25-mark question are all map based. So practice on the map for your geography paper. Maths is another subject that most students struggle with. And believe it or not, it can actually become a muscle memory. So the more you practice your maths questions, the better your hand will remember things. For example, 7 plus 8 is always going to be 15, regardless of where it is and what it is. So develop the skill. Practice. Written practice is the best way to do maths or any other computational work like accounting or the calculation questions of physics. So keep that in mind when you're working. Biology again has a lot of diagrams, a lot of definitions, and a lot of common sense. And it has, along with chemistry and physics, a practical paper. So try and use some practical, do some simple practicals at home. There's so many that you can do. And it just takes a little bit more exploring, a little bit more thinking outside the box. And believe me, once you practice your past papers and practice practicals, the science subjects become really, really fun and easy to study. Also, if you consider Islamiyat, I think and I feel is one of the toughest and the most underrated subject in the O-level syllabus. People think Islamiyat is so straightforward, but while actually it isn't. for paper 1, you need to revise paper 2 and vice versa, because your references are always from the other side. So if you're writing about the Quranic verses, you'll need to reference something from the Holy Prophet's life or a hadith, which means paper 2. So when you're making your notes of paper 1, add in points about paper 2 or all, and they do the same for paper 2 as well. And most importantly, practice those past papers. Even if you've done only one topic, the topical will have a bank of questions related to that topic, which will help you fine-tune your working according to the CIE standard and enable you to become a more focused learner. If you think about English and Urdu, the best way to improve your grade is reading. Read a lot. Read anything you can lay your hands on. And while reading, pay attention to what kind of language is being used. If you think about it, every style, every book, every novel, magazine, newspaper has a particular way of writing. Somebody who's writing about the politics is not going to use business language there. But if they're writing about the business, it will have to be a business language. It will have to be talking about stocks and bearish and bullish things, trends. So think about those things. Make your own vocabulary bank, something that you become more comfortable with the more you use it. I sometimes recommend parents that students who are struggling with proverbs in Urdu should try and make it a habit of practicing them at home. So adults in the house, parents, can incorporate proverbs while they're talking to their kids so that the kids become used to those proverbs. The more proverbs in use, the better recall they'll have later on, and the more sense they will have when they're writing their own sentences. A lot of times students use proverbs but which do not make any sense within the sentence that they have used it in. The same is the case in English. Students love to use big words, but have they used it correctly is something which actually eludes them, because they know the meaning of it, but they don't know how it fits within the context. So reading helps you in that. Reading and looking out for these things, how the vocabulary choice has been used, why this particular word has been used rather than another option, actually helps you gain an understanding of how to use the words and how to use the words properly and in the right context. If you think about the moving on to the business subjects, make it a habit of reading the business pages. It is a very good technique, not just for your own preparation, but to make you aware of how the business actually works. When you have an understanding of the business world and how it works and how the stock world works, you'll obviously understand better about business studies and economics as subjects and the topics that you are studying within it. I think we have covered almost all the subjects, and I have given you quite a lot of information this time. Try and incorporate all of them, including them into what you have already done, like note-taking, making your schedule, and in your memorization techniques. All of these things will enable you to become a better learner, and that ultimately, that is our goal. So, good luck in your studies. Pay attention, focus, read a lot, not just for English and Urdu's sake, but generally. Open your mind to new ideas and thoughts. Good luck. And thank you for watching. Allah Hafiz.